So either I can just go out into the map and do bounties that give me sort of bounty caches and stuff, and that's pretty good to have done all the bounties by the time you hit, like in all acts, by the time that you hit rank 70, because you want what's in those caches. But for now we need some level ups. So you can, there are a couple of different ways of going about this. You can go directly for a rift, which you start here, which is like the one you saw me play, where you just go in with these randomly generated stuffs. Or you can take a peek and see if there is a boss that you can kill. Preferably Zoltan Cool, because you don't have to run to his boss arena, it's right there. Because enemies scale with you. So if you kill a boss... Yeah, here, Belial. Ooh, but Belial's... that's a bit of a nightmare. Enemies scale with you. So when you're level 1, all your opponents are also level 1. So... you get a boss chest for fighting the boss. The Cursed Shrines. Ooh, that's also good. Which gives you some early game stuff, which can be good. So we're gonna do the Skeleton King. Now, I'm not sure, like most people who could have probably seen this already, because even back before Diablo was like actually released, right? Back before Diablo 3 wasn't even out, they did put out a demo, a playable demo, for free that everyone could play, where you could play up to the Skeleton King boss fight, which is cool. So as you can see, you get level ups pretty quickly here in the beginning. Very quickly. Now that's gonna, you know, level out. You're not gonna get them as often when you increase your rank. Now I'm already level 3 instead of level 1, so this boss is gonna be a bit harder because of that. But that's okay. I'll show you. It's one of the different bosses you can fight in Diablo. And if you fight him in story mode, with a new character, as long as you are, I think, below level 12 when you kill him, he will always drop Leoric's crown as the loot that you get from him, which is very good for leveling up. So some people argue that it's a legitimate strategy as a new player to start a campaign, fight your way to the Skeleton King and kill him to get that guaranteed Leoric's crown, and then you start playing adventure mode. But nowadays I think the meta has settled into accepting that that's actually not an efficient use of your time. You should just go into adventure mode immediately. Because I don't think he drops it in adventure mode, I think he only drops it in story mode. Yeah, so he didn't drop Leoric's crown here. If I had gone campaign and fought him, he would have dropped it. But look at this. I got 3 yellow items. And one of them is a belt. One of them is pants. I already have pants, so that kind of sucks. They're slightly better. And one is a club, which is about the same. About the same as the one I had. So that was a bit unlucky. That could have gone way better. Oh well. Oh well. Anyway, as you level up, you get more skills, obviously. But here's the meat of it. This obelisk right here. Boom. I create a rift. Also, I sell off all my shit. And by sell, I mean I scrap it for crafting parts. Gold is not gonna be an issue in this game. You're not gonna sell stuff. You're gonna scrap everything, because you always need crafting materials. And this is our first randomly generated dungeon. This is the prison cell from Act 1. that was randomly generated for us this time. Back in vanilla Diablo 3, when the game came out, you played this level a lot, because back then the game was so much harder than it is today. It's so much harder. It's ridiculous how much harder it was. It was really punishing when it first came out. So going for the actual bosses was usually too hard. You just couldn't do it. They not on like the hardest difficulties. They just pushed your shit back in. So what you did instead was you dealt with like mini bosses that existed in the levels. And in this level, in the prison, it spawned a mini boss that was called the Warden. And he usually didn't drop any good stuff, but it was better than nothing, right? And that was your option, because you couldn't fight the Butcher. The Butcher would just insta-kill you. Like, you need to have like really good gear. So what you did was, for like an entire month, you did Warden runs, which is just you play the Halls of Agony, levels 1 and 2, and then you go into the prison, and then you kill the Warden. But instead of moving on to fight the Butcher, who's the actual Act 1 end boss, you just quit out the game. And then you start it again to just fight against the Warden. Over and over again. I did that for weeks. Just Warden runs, and then more Warden runs, and then some more Warden runs. And that was it. Yeah, let's slow enemies. Oh, I cannot change skills while I'm in combat. Let's exit combat then. There we go. Ah. So what I'm doing right now, I don't have that many skills. The only thing I've unlocked is I'm using the buttons here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, boom, I can blind enemies. That's the skill I've unlocked. And then, just like the challenge rift, but at a way slower and more like understandable level what's going on, I'm using my left mouse button to do this, which is my standard attack, and that is called a generator. It gives me my main resource, which is called Spirit for the monk. So if you look at the white bar in the bottom right, it's kind of depleted right now. So when I hit people with my left mouse button, that bar fills up. I am generating resource. And with my right mouse button, I'm doing this. The lashing tail kick, which is the spin kick that does a whole lot of damage. And, you know, hits like in a 360 radius around me. And that uses up the spirit. So it's an alternating thing. I have my cooldown skill, which blinds enemies, which makes them stand still so that I can punch them. I like that. And then my left mouse button does a little bit of damage, but mostly it generates resources. And then my right mouse button does a bit more damage, but it spends resources. So all of this is very straightforward. But this is the early game. Once you get to the end game, obviously things are going to get way more complex. So we beat that floor and we went to a new floor. And this is a new randomly generated tile set with randomly generated enemies. So we see Moon Clan Impalers, which are Act 1 enemies. But this is an Act 5 area. So this did not exist when Diablo came out. Everything was sort of like these finished, completed tile sets, where everything looked the same. It always looked the same, no matter how. Like there were small variances, but mostly the levels looked the same. And there was always the same enemies. You had your Act 1 enemies, Act 2, Act 3, or whatever. You had your set runs that you did. You had your Act 3 All-Kaiser runs. You had your Act 1 Warden runs, stuff like that. But then when they introduced this expansion, which actually sort of revolutionized this game in many ways, Reaper of Souls, they also added this adventure mode and these rifts of just randomly or procedurally generated dungeons with random tilesets and random enemies. They just go on forever, which actually, you know, it helps a lot with creating longevity, because everything sort of feels a bit new for longer, you know, until you've seen all of that too. And then when you're in rifts, you get these pylons, which gives you really bonkers effects for like a long time. Or like a short time, rather. So this is the conduit pylon. It zaps everything with lightning. But as you can see on this little bar down here, it only lasts for 30 seconds. So you try to make the most out of it. You run through the area as quickly as you can. Oh my god. I just realized what I forgot to do. I am being a klutz. People. 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 First of all, I gotta put on my wings, obviously. But then, do I want to use one of these pennants? I'm not sure. Not sure I like these pennants all that much. But you have pets. You can find pets when you play. As you can see, by this point, I found a lot of different pets. What pet are we gonna run with for this run? Are we gonna run with the half-formed golem? Ew, that's nasty. Now, I kind of like this. It's the, it's a StarCraft battlecruiser, but Diablo-ified. That's kind of cool. Do I want a little Gome, the stomach? Oh, he's a little cutie. Maybe. You know what? You know what? Let's go StarCraft. You should always equip your pet if you have one. There he is. You know why? Because he fucking picks up gold for you. You don't have to run over gold, because your pet's gonna pick up your gold for you. That actually matters. It matters a lot. But I don't know how many people here who watch this have tried to play Diablo, or were there for the beginning. Maybe you stopped before Reaper of Souls came out. Because maybe you got killed by those wasp swarms in Act 2 too many times. You just couldn't progress further in the game, right? Ooh, I hear a treasure goblin. Maybe you had too many run-ins of those. Let's see. Bonk. Do I do this for more damage? No, it's about the same amount of damage. Oh, this is better though. Yeah. The monk can do 2 weapons. That's great. So I'm gonna put everything I can, everything, into just straight up more damage. Damage is king. 7, 10. That's a better bow. I'm gonna give my follower a better bow. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Malevolent Tormentor. That is a guaranteed legendary. At least when you're level 70. I'm not sure it's a guaranteed legendary on this low level. No, it's not. It's a bit sad. But if you're level 70 and you find a Malevolent Tormentor, that is indeed a guaranteed legendary item. That's a very good goblin. I like how when you kill an enemy for the first time, you get a little, like, thing with like just some voice lines giving some lore for that enemy type. So obviously these are gonna stop once you've killed all the enemy types. Alright. I think I've probably unlocked a rune at this point. And I just didn't pay attention. So I'm gonna show you another thing. Yeah, so as you level up, you unlock more skills, but you also unlock versions of it. So I have my left click attack. I could, if I want to, switch to this left click attack, which is instead like ranged. I can hit people from further away. But I prefer the Fists of Thunder, which is faster but closer, and it hits more enemies at the same time. But you also unlock runes, which you can use to augment the skills. So you have like 5 different runes for all different skills. So here, I'm currently running with no rune, and you obviously want a rune in there, because everything is going to improve it. So this gives an electric shockwave to my thunderclap. I have Tempest Rush here, but Tempest Rush, as it is, yeah, it's not really right. It's not really very good right now. It just does, it drains a lot of spirit per second, you see here, and it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. So Lashing Tail Kick is better for now, but I should obviously give that some fire damage too. And I like the Binding Flash. I'm not going to use the Breath of Heaven. I don't need that extra healing. Okay, so now my Fists of Thunder actually do thunder. They do the thunderclap. That's yeah. It's the clap back on the enemies, and my Lashing Tail Kick now does a bunch of fire damage as well. Great. So now my skills are better. Did I find a new weapon? Was it good? Yeah, it was slightly better. So this is what you want. You want to find like these special versions of enemies that have names. Yellow ones or blue ones. Champions and elites. And I always get them mixed up, right? Because I think this game has got it mixed up. I am upset by this. Because they call the... Listen to this, okay? The yellow ones, which are the ones that are just one enemy that has a name. It's a named enemy. They call that an elite. But the blue ones, which you face like 3 or 4 of them, and they're just stronger versions of a normal enemy, and they don't have a special name. So they would just say like Demon Trooper, but with blue text instead. They're called champions. And I think this is ass backwards, right? Because I'm coming from the background of like martial arts and MMA and boxing and stuff like that. And in my mind, right? In my mind, there can only be one champion. Because that guy's the champion. That's how it works. They're the best of the best. They're on top of the throne. They're the champion. Whereas elite is more sort of a designation where, like, you know, a lot of people could be considered elite in their field. But elite does not mean the best. But at the same time, I acknowledge, ooh, Blood Thief. This is gonna give me more gambling resources. Now, at the same time, I know that this convention exists in like, or at least it used to, in like Warhammer Fantasy. I think that's how it worked. Where you had like upgraded versions of units, and the first tier was called like Champion, and the second tier was called Hero, I think, and the third tier was called Lord. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong. So, yeah, I get it. In that context, Champion was like the first tier of upgraded unit. But that's not how I associate it. At least not anymore. Oh, I got a mobility skill. This is a dashing teleport kick. No one uses it to attack. This is just straight up used as a mobility skill, where it's just boom! And then you wait until it reloads its charge, and then you can use it again. So see, these guys are champions, and they're just called winged assassins. But in my mind, these guys should be the ones who are called elites. And the single guy who has a name, who's a named unit, that guy should be called the champion. I'm right about this, okay? I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong about this. Oh, look, the Rift Guardian. I spawned the Rift Guardian. Great, it's Hamelin. He spawns a lot of ads. And he spawns these rat swarms, so you gotta move because you can't stand in the rat swarm, because you take damage if you stand in the rat swarm. Ah, god damn it. He's kind of tough to fight, to fight as the first sort of Rift Guardian you get to encounter. So you gotta stay away from him. Or rather, you have to stay away from the rat swarms and pull him away from the rat swarms. Oh no, he made more rat swarms. Now I gotta run away from him. But he creates this sort of like ring and you can't leave the arena. Whoop! Unless you have a dashing. You can leave the arena with your dash. See, it's so easy. You just gotta know them secret tricks. Anyway, I'm about to finish my first rift. Ba-bam. Hell yeah. I got an achievement for that, a seasonal achievement, because I hit rank 10. And then you go and cash it in. Boop. Alright, so that was a rift. Cool, huh? Yeah. I unlocked another follower skill. And when you hit rank 10... let's see, do I got anything new here? Just a rune for the Deadly Reach. You get passive skills. That's cool, right? Passive skills. So, what do we got? We got Fleet-footed. Increased movement speed. Very good. Resolve. Damage reduction. At this point, damage reduction, not an issue. So, I want 10% more movement speed. Yeah, we're running faster. We like that. That's shit. That's shit. That's slightly better. No. No. There we go. Okay. I think I have the best weapons I can use right now. So we're gonna scrap everything else. Boom, boom, boom. Scrapped. Now we're rank 10. Since we leveled up the blacksmith to full, we can actually craft some stuff if we want to. We can craft like a level 10 shiv, which is like a knife, which is way better than what we're currently using. And since we can fight with 2 weapons, we're gonna craft 2 of those. It doesn't cost anything. Not since we got that can't craft any yellows yet, so I'm gonna wait with the other ones. But yeah, since we got that challenge chest, so we got 20 damage, 20 damage, which is way better than what we're using. So our DPS is gonna go from 22 to 39. It's almost double damage. It's excellent. And then we're just gonna pop right back in, because that's how you do it. That's how you level up. And as soon as we sort of like get like a really good weapon, then we're gonna like exit out into the menu and increase the difficulty. So if you put like a sort of clock on this, like how long it's gonna take to get to level 70, I'm gonna say probably around 4 hours. I think, if I remember correctly. Then you hit max level, and then you can actually start playing the game. We're not playing the game right now. That's not what this is. This is just the hors d'oeuvre, the little pre-game snack before you can start to actually play the game the way God intended it. Oh no, we're not gonna bring religion into this channel. No. This is a secular channel. Haven't you heard? Sweden is a godless country. It actually is. It has like the highest percentage of atheists in the entire world. And it would be even higher if it wasn't for the fact that most people in Sweden are born into the Church of Sweden. Or like if your parents are members of the church, then you automatically become a member of the church upon birth. And most people just, you know, associate the Church of Sweden with just niceties and traditions and whatnot. People still want to, in general in this country, get married in church. And they still want like a church burial. And for some reason, like baptism and confirmation are actually still just sort of traditions that we adhere to today. And to this day. So we do these things, even though very few of us are actually like of any sort of faith. We just do it because we're kind of supposed to, and because everyone's doing it that way, right? And that's just how it works. You go get married in the church. You get a church wedding, and you ask the priest to not talk about God. It's very common. It's very common for people who get married in Sweden to be like, they tell the priest before they get married, like, could you ixnay on the ESSJ and just sort of like maybe talk more about just, you know, our bond and our love and all of that jazz, and maybe sort of like cut back on the whole God thing. Maybe you don't have to mention him at all, right? Wouldn't that be crazy if you just married us and just didn't mention God? That would be nice. Could you do that? Could you do that for us, please? And then obviously the priest goes like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'll do that for you. That's not a problem, because we live in like a secular country, right? Yeah. And this church thing, it's not about God anymore, right? No, it's just about traditions. Just about traditions and you know, just good old-fashioned values and whatnot. And then they stand there in the church, and you know the preacher, he's gonna start talking about God. You know he's gonna do it. I've had it happen to so many of my friends. Like that actual scenario of them just sort of like asking the minister to like not talk about God, and he's like, oh yeah, I won't talk about God, and then he talks about God. The Swedish problems. This is a very, very Swedish problem, I would say. But Swedes can relate. Go to Swedish websites and subreddits for our Sweden and talk about the thing about getting married, and could you shut up about God? Oh my God, shut up about God. Jesus Christ, priest. Why? Like, there's no reason for you in this church, for this religious ceremony, to bring up God. What's even the... I feel that's very selfish of you. I feel like this day should be about us in this church and not about God. I found my first legendary item. So that's something that they did for this game. They there was a problem when the game first came out, where the legendary drop rates were like atrocious. It took several weeks before you found like, hello? Oh, look at that. Life per hit, 68. Damn. Well, I just became immortal. Look at my health. Look at my health bar, how much it pops up whenever I hit an enemy. Where was I? I kind of lost my train of thought there. Let's see if I can get back to it. Oh yeah, legendary drop rates. They were shit. No one could find any legendaries. Like, I still remember the first time I found a legendary. And it was after several weeks of grinding. And it wasn't even good, because they didn't have the sort of smart loot system that they have today that sort of ensures that items you find are pretty much always going to be usable for you. So even if you found one, like, odds were good that it's like, it's not even going to have like the right stats for your class and stuff. Very disappointing. But they changed that. Nowadays, you find legendaries pretty often, and if you get to the end game, you're gonna see that they overtuned it to the point where, like, when you're running the actual end game builds, you're gonna get like, I don't know, almost like 100 legendaries fucking per hour or something. It's that. See, oh, I got another one. Like, that's pretty lucky getting to this close to each other this early in the game. It's gonna be Leoric's Crown, right? Yeah, it's Leoric's Crown. See, I didn't need to fight the Skeleton King. That's another argument for why you don't fight the Skeleton King. Because, like, what if you just find it anyway? Which is what I just did here. So, the Leoric's Crown is always gonna have a socket. I haven't found any gems yet to put stuff in, but it has a socket for it. So, and it doubles the efficiency of gems socketed into it. And there are gems you can socket into a crown that gives you like bonus EXP. And this is just gonna double that. So, you know, that's why you want it for leveling. But yeah, they went completely overboard to just... People were complaining that they weren't finding legendaries and they thought the game got boring. So in order to make people happy, they were like, everyone gets all the legendaries all the time. And now it's like they don't even feel special when you get them. Because you just get them all the time. Which I'm almost a bit upset about. Sometimes, you know, some scarcity can be good. Okay? It's like... You don't wanna... Take your favorite restaurant, okay? If you went and ate there every single day, like pretty soon you just sort of like... I'm not gonna say you'd get sick of it, but it would stop feeling special. It wouldn't be like an event when you go there. It would just be kind of boring every day, right? So I feel like sometimes you kind of like have to put a sort of... dampener on yourself, a bit of a limit in that regard, and just don't oversaturate it. Keep some things feeling special. You don't have to eat at McDonald's every day if that's your favorite restaurant. Just, you know, chill at home for a bit. Eat some bread and some beans or something boring like that. Make you really appreciate that Big Mac when you do get it. That's all I'm saying. Just sit in your kitchen and crack open a cold can of beans. You're not even gonna heat it. Maybe you'll like just put it in like a bowl and microwave it. Okay? We can go that far. You can microwave your can of beans. And then you just sit there with your spoon, gobbling up your beans, and think about all those times that you got to eat at McDonald's and how nice that felt. And then, you know, when you do get to do it, when you finally get to do it, man, you're gonna be like, it's even better than I remembered. Because it's not beans. That's how I feel about video game design. Mostly you should give people beans. And then sometimes, give them a Big Mac. But not too often. Gotta keep them starved. Like little Tiny Tim. Being like, please, mister, may I have another? And that's how you get them to come back. Ah, okay. So now we have a common problem, which is I picked up all this stuff, but my inventory is already full. So what do? Well, you just junk some of the... Oh no, clicked the wrong buttons. Now what I was gonna say is you just junk some of the shit gear. The whites, the ones that aren't even magical. Just toss those babies out, make some room in your inventory. And then you want this one, because it's a transmog. And just pick these up. See if anything's good. That's two-handed, and it's worse than my one-handed. That's not very good. I must lessen my burden. I am returning to town. Ah. And now, we go back to town. And... boom. Sweet. So at this point... rank 14. Can we use any of the legendaries I gambled for? Yes, we can. We can use everything except for them boots. But they're going in my inventory, because as soon as I hit rank 16, I will be able to wear them. So let's see, are these any good? Don't need this, because I got Lorik's Crown. That's better. That's better. That's better. I didn't even have bracers. I mean shoulders. That's better. Well, that's better. So yeah, everything. Straight upgrade. It's great. That is wonderful. Now at this point, can we craft any... No, we can still only craft blues. Can still only craft blues. That gives me the blues. We got Cyclone Strike. It's good. I know it's good, so I'm gonna like sort of invest in that. Got a rune for the Blinding Flash. Increases the duration enemies are blinded. I like that. Fists of Thunder. Got a new. Freeze enemies. Is that better than causing knockbacks? Yeah, I think it is. Crippling Wave. Crippling Wave is great because it's like sort of an AoE around you. But I'm gonna wait to use it until I have a rune for it. Because using a generator without a rune is just worse. No matter which one you're using. So you want one that has a rune on it. And Lashing Tail Kick, it's not my favorite. Same here, Wave of Light. Love Wave of Light. You know what? Fuck it, Wave of Light is so good that we can start using Wave of Light immediately. But that means we need some more resource generation, because Wave of Light eats spirit. 75 spirit every time you use it. So I can only use it like 3 times, and then I have to charge it back up again. So I'm gonna put on a passive skill that increases my spirit generation. Boom! See that? Now I started to just generate spirit by myself. Very good. So now my gear is good enough to where I am going to leave this game. I'm gonna increase the difficulty and jump back in. That's how we roll. Now we're gonna play on Expert.